Today is Wednesday, July the 28th. The title of today's devotional is The Way of the Wicked. Our scripture reading is 2 Samuel chapter 4 and Psalm chapter 6. I am going to take the focus of this devotional, however, strictly on 2 Samuel chapter 4. Now, the events in chapter 4 of 2 Samuel remind us that humanity really has not changed. Evil men struggle for power, riches, and influence, and the treachery and the deceit that we will find in 2 Samuel chapter 4 today are as present in our day as they were in ancient times. Now, verses 1 through 4 of 2 Samuel 4, I've given the subtitle, The Plot to Kill Ishbosheth, King of Israel. Well, a little bit of the background. With the news of Abner's death, Abner being the captain, or we would say the general of Israel's forces, when that news reached Saul's son Ishbosheth, he was overcome with fear, and we read that his hands were feeble. Literally, they fell limp. He was so fearful, and the Israelites were troubled. With the captain of his army dead, Ishbosheth realized that the days as king were numbered. No, there were two brothers, one named Baanah and the other named Rechab, who supposed that the death of Abner provided them an opportunity to exact revenge against the house of Saul. For that king, Saul, in his day, we know had slain many Gibeonites in Beeroth, according to 2 Samuel 21. Well, besides Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, there was only one other male of Saul's household, and that was Mephibosheth, who was the son of Jonathan. Mephibosheth, however, was lame and unfit to be king. Well, with Ishbosheth dead, Baanah and Rechab reasoned the last obstacle to become David becoming king of Israel would be removed, and they would be rewarded. And so they set out and plotted to murder and assassinate King Ishbosheth under the pretense of gathering grain, supposedly for the treasury within the palace, and maybe it was as compensation for the soldiers of their band. Rechab and Baanah entered the temple, or the palace. Now they found Ishbosheth sleeping, and they killed him while he slept upon his bed, and they beheaded him. Then they carried the head of the king as proof he had been slain. Rechab and Baanah traveled through the night, bringing the head of Ishbosheth unto David in Hebron, chapter 4 and verse 8. Now, imagining they would be rewarded, they said to David, Behold the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, thine enemy, which sought thy life, and the Lord hath avenged my Lord, the king, this day of Saul and his seed. Now, I suppose that Rechab and Baanah believed that David was a man like themselves, and yet he was not. For David was a righteous man after God's own heart. Now, verse 9 through 12 of 2 Samuel 4, David condemned the murderous actions of Rechab and Baanah. He began to reflect on the Lord's faithfulness during his wilderness years, and David certainly did not need Rechab or Baanah to slay Ishbosheth. Drawing upon how he had ordered the death of the Amalekite king that had claimed to slay King Saul, David condemned the two brothers for slaying Ishbosheth. And I quote chapter 4 and verse 11, a righteous person in his own house upon his bed. And David then commanded his young men, and they slew Rechab and Baanah, and they cut off their hands and their feet, and they hanged them over the pool in Hebron. Because the pool in Hebron was a very public gathering place, hanging the limbs of those that had been slain served as a testimony and a warning to Israel. It was a testimony that David had had no part in the assassination of Ishbosheth, who had been the king of Israel. But it was also a warning to any who might be tempted to betray David in the future. David, however, made certain the head of Ishbosheth was given an honorable burial, and he buried his head in the sepulchre of Abner in Hebron. Now, a closing thought. You and I should not be surprised that when there is no law, evil men will commit heinous acts of treachery and murder. The wicked actions of Rechab and Baanah and their expectation to be awarded for murdering Ishbosheth is the way of the world. This is the way the world is. It is the way that it operates. David, however, proved to be a righteous man, and his judgment to put Rechab and Baanah to death was according to the law. A life for a life. I encourage you, read 2 Samuel chapter 4 today, and also today's scripture reading, which is Psalm chapter 6. The Lord bless you. Have a great day. God bless, and bye-bye.